So, everyone, I just want to thank you for attending our Microsoft Teams advanced training. We did a Teams training last year just for more beginners and getting used to Teams, but more and more of our customers and Data Magic customers are getting familiar with Teams. So now we figured we'd do a follow-up with the advanced Teams training. So I really appreciate you all attending. This is going to be very informative. I'll be introducing our speaker here in a minute. Just to reiterate what this is actually a joint venture between Data Magic and Alltek. We're both IT service providers, and we like to provide ongoing training to our customers in the community just to help with some of these tools that we are recommending of our customers. So instead of just making our customers use it, we also want to make sure we provide the training they need to use it effectively. So, so Shane, I do see more people coming in. If you could just monitor the
Yeah, I'm letting them in as they come in. So
perfect. All right. Excellent. So, so before we get going, Shane, did you want to say anything, any introductions before I introduce our speaker?
No, Taher, thanks for putting this together as always. I mean, the continuing education of our employees is or our clients is always important to us. So, yeah, look forward to it. Running a little late. Let's get started.
Yeah, all right. Perfect. And just to let everyone know, this whole thing is going to be recorded. We'll send the full recording out, and there's also going to be more micro bits to provide as tech tips down the road as well. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speaker today, Kamal. Kamal has tons of experience with Microsoft 365, both as just working with it, but also as administrator of Microsoft 365. He helped specifically within his organization move from 40% utilization of Teams and other tools up to 80%. So really showing that he was able to optimize usage of the tool within his organization. And now, if I'm not mistaken, you manage up to, was it 15,000 different licenses? Oh, I think you're muted, Kamal.
Sorry, I was going to say 40,000.
Oh, okay. It's gone up quite a bit. Look at you go. So we've done a lot of interviews with Kamal. He seems like he knows a lot, and so we've kind of hired him on to do a lot of these trainings, starting with the Microsoft Advanced Teams. So Kamal, did you want to do any introduction before you jump in, or anything you want to cover before?
That was great. I appreciate it. Yes, I've been using Microsoft Teams since day one, since they had it in preview. It developed so much since then. It's like seeing a small baby and they grow and grow. And then with the pandemic, we saw a lot of new features. And I do understand if you started using it around that time, it was constantly changing. And I've been through all of that. So I hope I can tell you a little bit more today about the advanced feature. I think a lot of people have used Teams to some extent by now, but I'm trying today to focus on the hidden features, the things that you may not know that Teams is actually capable of doing.
That sounds great. Absolutely. And of course, everyone, save your questions. You can add in the chat, and we'll go over that at the end.
All right, sounds great. So I'm gonna go ahead and share some slides that I have. Personally, I'm someone who likes more of demos. I like to actually show you Microsoft Teams, how it works, but I do also have some slides for the beginning to give you a quick intro to Microsoft Teams, a refresher if you're kind of new. Just I'll do some high level intro at first, and then we can get into the demo, and I will be able to answer any questions. So let me know when you can see my slides. Can someone confirm?
Looks good.
Looks good. All right. Advanced Microsoft Teams training. This is my name, my email address if you'd like to reach out. Uh, and let's talk quickly about the agenda for today. Very simple. We're going to talk about Teams and how it's structured within the Microsoft 365. Compare it quickly to OneDrive, SharePoint, and then get into some of the advanced features. I will talk about the last three pieces are all demo. I do have some slides to share after if you'd like to see slides, but I'll go over it in a demo format, then we can go over the slides if needed. We'll talk about the file sharing structure in Teams. That's very important to understand how Teams and SharePoint work together. Then we'll go into more connectors, apps, and bots within Microsoft Teams, and then more of the tips and tricks and the hidden features of Microsoft Teams. I like this chart. It's called the periodic table of Office 365. It's an actual MVP in the Netherlands. He created this and shared it with others. But he has it in all languages. If you want to look it up, I can share the name of the person after. But they call it the periodic table of Office 365. It shows you all the tools in one picture. So this is not chemistry, but in some way actually sounds like chemistry because it's very complex. We have so many applications right there, from Microsoft Forms to Planner to your OneNote, SharePoint. But Teams is kind of the connector of all of these apps. It's the one application that you can actually get to about 90% of what you see in here from Microsoft Teams alone. It allows you to access the Office Online applications on the top right, the automation tool, the Power Platform, Forms, SharePoint, even your OneDrive. On top of all of this, it allows you to connect to third-party apps. So just to give you the scale of how powerful Teams is, if you had to go to every individual app separately, that's a lot of work. It takes time, and users will stop using the tool. So Microsoft said, let's just build Teams. So Teams, high level, we should all by now know that it's a chat-based workspace in Office. So before, we've always used email, email, email. Microsoft thought was like, let's just move to chat. And more and more people now use text messaging. They send messages via their phones, whatever you use. It's more of like instant. They don't want to wait for an email. So they built it. It's a hub for teamwork. That's where you can see bunch of people joining a team and then connecting all the apps in one place. You can customize your team to better fit you and the team members you're working with. So if it's a project, you can build it where it's a project. If it's more of an organization team, you can also add all the team members in your organization. And it's secure. It follows all the Microsoft policies and security policies. As admins, you can also manage the security within teams, whether you're the global admin or only the team admin. You can manage those settings and security. I like this. This is a new chart I started showing, and because some people like visuals, some people like charts, some people like the demo. Just in case you want to see how the structure works within Microsoft Teams, this is a quick chart that explains how things are connected. So when you first create Teams, you're here on the top. You create a Microsoft team. Automatically, when you create a team, three layers get created. The first one is the channel. So if you've ever created a team, you'll see the general channel. That is the first channel you create. Automatically with the team, a SharePoint site is created. And the last pillar is the modern work group, which we'll talk about the modern group. So when you create a channel, you see the line here to a folder in SharePoint, because technically every channel you create, whether it's the default one, the general, or any other channel you create thereafter, they're actually a folder within the SharePoint site. So that's how they're connected. Teams, files, and content is saved in SharePoint. That's why every team site, when it's created, it has its SharePoint site with it. That's where the documents, images are stored. And then you have the modern group, which is where all the members are added. The members are not just added to the team; they're actually added to what we call Office 365 groups, a modern group. It's like a distribution list, if you want to think about it, or a group mailbox. All the members are added in it, and then you can chat with the members individually or send messages throughout the channel. So every channel allows you to reply, send messages. Those images that you send are saved in your channel, which is a SharePoint site. And every individual gets their own OneDrive. So I know for some people this helps, some people may not. We'll get into more details, but that's the structure of Microsoft Teams you created. Just keep in mind, in the back end, you always have a SharePoint site and a modern group. Those are two important pieces of when you create a team. That's another way of looking at it. Microsoft Teams is more of the we. So if you have a group of people, an organization, a team, a small team working on a project, then you want to use Microsoft Teams. Then OneDrive is the personal one, just for individuals. SharePoint is for large scale. So if it's one-way communication, you just want to share files and with everyone in your organization, that's when you use SharePoint. SharePoint is file repository technology. That's why Teams has it. So that's how you want to think about the three technologies that we have here. I'll get into the demo now, but I'll ask any specific questions so far. Anything doesn't make sense from what we talked about, just the structure of Teams, how it works with SharePoint as well as OneDrive. All right.
Well, Kamal, I do want to say those are great resources. Those two, the periodic table just showing all of the apps. I mean, just picturing that, this is amazing. And
Yeah.
then showing the connector, because that's always confused so many clients. It even confused us for a long time. That on the back end of Teams is that SharePoint site where all of the content within that channel is being saved. So this is just such a nice, easy way to display that. So I don't really have a question. I just want to say that I think both of these are resources that I'm going to bug you about afterwards so I can use it
Absolutely.
as
Yes.
well.
Yeah, absolutely. This even for me, and I'm just if you think you're not understanding the structure of Teams, I'm not gonna lie. It took me about 6 months to a year to really understand how that SharePoint site that is in the back end of Teams works because you have the standalone SharePoint site, and then OneDrive is really a SharePoint site. I'm like, whoa, 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 what is this? What's going on? And I was an admin, right? So I needed to understand that, but it was still it took me some time. So if you feel like it's challenging, yes, Microsoft doesn't make it super easy, but once you understand it, it's so powerful that you will start taking advantage of all of the connectors that you can get. You can utilize SharePoint within Teams, which you will find a lot of benefit once you understand it. But if you're not understanding it, then what's the point? So that's why I wanted to go through this, even though this is more of like level 100 kind of discussion. But I always show these first to give you a refresher and to make sure you understand how Teams works and the whole structure of it.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm gonna stop sharing and now share my the demo because as I said, I'm gonna go through Microsoft Teams and show you a few things there. So let me find this right there. All right. Let me know when you can see my Teams client. I should say demo project general announcement planning resources, the team
Yeah.
site.
Yep, we can see it here.
Perfect. Thank you. If you guys remember Skype, it used to show you what you present. With Microsoft Teams, it doesn't really show you if, what you're sharing and how it looks. So I always like to confirm. So I'm not sharing the wrong monitor. All right. So I'm assuming everyone knows how to get to Microsoft Teams from the web or from the desktop client or from your mobile app. There are a lot of features, but we're focused on the desktop app, is what I'm showing you. Windows, Mac, super similar right now. So I'm gonna start going into like random features, but first I want to continue the discussion about how Teams and SharePoint work and the file hierarchy and structure. So this demo project was created as a template. So they created all the channels for me. I didn't have to do much, but you can create a team from scratch. You'll notice every time you create a channel, you have by default the three main tabs: post, files, wiki. We all know what the post is. That's where you send messages. Wiki. I'm someone that deletes it because I really don't like the wiki, but you can use it if you want. The reason I deleted, and also that's more of a best practices, it's really hard to get back if you accidentally someone accidentally removes it. It's not saved in a nice way like OneNote. If you add a tab and you add OneNote, it's the same thing. It gives you the same features, but if you delete it, you can recover it from the recycle bin. We've been finding a lot of challenges with people randomly deleting wiki, and we have to reach out to Microsoft. So I personally don't use it. You can still use it, but OneNote is a better alternative for wiki. Now let's go to the files section. I don't have anything in here. It's an empty site that I recently created. Well, as I mentioned in the slides earlier, when you create a channel, it's really a folder within SharePoint. So the general channel, you can see it's under Documents. Documents is the list of all your channels within that team site demo dash project. And how do you get to see everything? There's always a button here on the top right that says Open in SharePoint. If you're having problems with things not opening, if let's say your your documents are not working well, you want to sync but the sync button is not working, you want to see more features like document history, then you go through and open in SharePoint. Now obviously I'm only sharing one screen that doesn't have it, but that's basically how you can get to the SharePoint side of things, and I'll get to it in a second. um, from here, you can, if you want, upload documents. Co-authoring is pretty nice in here because when you co-author, you can have multiple people accessing and making changes to the document at the same time. That's pretty straightforward. I'm pretty sure most of us have used it, but I just wanted to now open the SharePoint. So I'm going to click on open in SharePoint, take that link. All right, and open it in the web browser. I guess I'm not sharing the right screen. Um, But I'll get back to it towards the end because it's now letting me change screens right now. But the point is, you see the same structure in Microsoft Teams with a lot more features. So every file section is technically the SharePoint side of things. Same thing with announcement planning, they all have the files section. So that's how they are structured. You have Teams on top, that's the UI, it shows you things, but in the back end, you have SharePoint. Any document you create will be created on both sides. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about, that's now we talked about the file structure and how things work. And eventually, as we go throughout this presentation, you'll see a lot of areas where I'm going to tell you this is in SharePoint actually. So one of the things I like to talk about is more of the settings first. So they kind of changed how things work in here. You can add your personal site as well as your admin account, which is the work account. But in settings, if you click on the three dots and you go to settings, you can find a lot more features. You got keyboard, about, check for updates, and download the mobile app. Here on top, you have the search. So one of the main features that I have for you here for the search is the search command. So uh, in some cases, you might open a Word document and you're working on that document directly in Teams. A lot of challenges I see is that people start editing the document, hello world, right? Adding comments, but then they get a message or they remember they want to chat with someone specific or their status is available. They want to change it to do not disturb. If I go to chat now, it's going to make me exit out of this section and I don't want to. And then I have to go back and find it. What I do is I utilize the search bar. If you click on the search bar, then you use the forward slash or forward slash right there, you get a bunch of commands. This is, I think, one of the coolest features of Microsoft Teams that are underutilized right now. You can change your status to be right back, away. I'm going to put do not disturb, which is DND, and you'll notice how my status will update. So I didn't leave this document, I changed my status. But then at the same time, if I want to chat with someone, then I can also use the at and then type in their name. Any of those people I had some conversations with, William, you can select them and then say hello, send them message, and send. Another thing you can do is use the pop, which is forward slash pop, is another cool one because it allows you to pop any of the chats that you currently have instead of actually having to change to the chat section. You can just select the name of the person and their conversation will pop out. So that's one of
That's
the,
amazing.
yeah.
I did not know this. And I use Teams every day. That's
Yes, this
great.
is again, I like to show it first because I really think it's cool, it's useful. There are a lot of other commands that I may not know about. Who is a nice one. If you have the who bot, which we will talk about later on, you can use who is the manager of Kamal, for example, and it will give you the manager of that person. That's if you have the organization chart set up. That's the pop, test call, join a meeting. You can join a meeting team. Oh, that's join a team. There are a bunch of options in here. I'm going to keep it on do not disturb, but I want to show you something here in the settings. When you have do not disturb, that means messages will go through. People can still send you a message. It's just not going to pop up here at the bottom. So one cool thing is in the settings, if you go to the three dots here, settings, if you have the newest client, and then go to privacy, that third one, there's something called manage priority access. I use it a lot because I have people that, for example, let me remove everyone. For example, I want to still get messages from even when I'm presenting because they're my manager, they're my project lead, the executives. You want to get the message even when you're like focusing. So you want to add them as, so I'm going to add William here, another test account that we have. Uh, I'm going to add him. And if he sends me a message, I will still get it even though I'm on Do Not Disturb. If I'm on a phone call, I'm presenting, the messages will still pop up. So be careful. I mean, if you use one monitor, their message will still show up for everyone. But at the same time, if you have multiple monitors and or you're trying just to focus and you have Do Not Disturb on, then that's a good feature to allow you to get messages from specific people. Other settings are available here, like setting up your devices, video camera, anything like that, your notification settings. I'm only going to show you one thing that I like, which is missed activity emails. I put it to 8 hours, which means if 8 hours pass by without you reading a message, it will send you an email. If you really want to be getting emails for everything, then you can do as soon as possible. But that could get annoying if you get a lot of messages. That's about for setting. I think it's a cool feature that people don't know about, but you can look at even at keyboard shortcuts. There's so many options in here. My favorite is Control N. That will allow me to start a new chat. So wherever you are within Teams, you click on Control N, starts a new conversation, type in the name of the person, and you start a conversation with them. Uh, Go to is another cool one. Zoom in and out because they're kind of different than your default Windows zoom in, zoom out. For Mac, that could be different, so make sure you look at that as well. Actually, last time I checked, I couldn't scroll down. That's how many shortcuts they added recently. All right, so let me see what I have next. All right, so now let's go back to the project team that I have, and I'm gonna go to the post sections. One thing here is we all know, and we should hopefully, reply and new conversation are different. I see a lot of people, instead of replying to a message, they start a new conversation. What that means, you're starting a completely new thread, and your message will not be ordered correctly. So if I reply to this message up here, hello, the order next time I join will change. That message will be here below this message. So that's why you want to reply to continue the thread instead of creating a new conversation. So that's just like how best practices, I would say. But then when you start a new conversation, a lot of people just start it and say hello, and someone like tell me how to do something. Explain to me the process. One thing that we always forget to look at is the options here at the bottom. Format is a pretty cool one because you can add a subject line. So you're sending it more of like an email. And it looks nicer. It allows you to bold the message, use the italic, highlight, change colors, the font, add bullet points. Also, if you hit enter in here, it's not going to directly send the message. So that's another thing that's nice about it. Um, I'm going to add subject line, please help, right? Since it's that important and I'm saying please help instead of adding a bunch of exclamations, I can just make it important. So this is a nice feature where you can flag it as important. Funny thing is that Microsoft used to have important and send every 20 minutes, I think, or 5 minutes. That was very annoying. Now I think it's no longer there. Or maybe it's in one-on-one chat only. But that will mark it in red. Everyone's going to see it. You can also use the at mention. So you probably have used the at mention before. You can mention an individual person, or you can mention the whole channel. So you can add general. That will tag every single member of the team. You can even at mention any of the other channel, like planning. You can mention planning. But the one thing I would caution here is that you're tagging everybody in the team because you can't really, for the channels, you can't select who can join a channel. Everybody's part of all the channels and teams. Unlike Slack, you can't pick and choose which channels you want to be part of. So really, if I tag general or planning, I'm tagging the same people. The only difference is it's called something different. It's not called the same thing like everyone. It's called general or planning. Maybe it's more targeted that way. So what I recommend, and here is a nice feature, is create your own tags. Create a tag, click on the three dots next to the team site. Usually by default, only the owners of the team can create that, but you can change that in the settings to allow anyone to create a tag. So you go to manage tags. This one will allow you to create any tag you want, like an at mention. So I'm gonna say cool members, right? And I'm gonna add myself to it. I go, this is my name, my account name. And now I created a tag called cool team members. When I go to general and I use that at sign, at cool, I'm tagging only that one person. Or I can add five people to it and I'm tagging those five only, not everybody. So tags are super helpful. You can also use them in the chat section. So if you go and create a new chat, I just use Control N. You can use those tags if you're part of the team. Maybe it didn't show up yet. Or actually, it's not going to work because I only have myself in it. That makes sense. But if I had actual different people, then I can use the chat also to send a message to that tag privately. And I can also tag them in here. This is how it's going to look. Only the members of that team are tagged, not everybody. So those are tags, super helpful. Try them out. Another thing that is hidden here and a hidden feature, I would say, is the three dots. And what I tell people, if you want to do something in Teams and you can't figure out how, look out for three dots. The three dots, they're basically magic. They show you a lot more features that probably you didn't know existed or what you were looking for. If you can't find it in the three dots, then it probably doesn't exist. And you can see how many options you have here, from save, edit, delete. One of my favorites is mark as unread because a lot of times I accidentally open a chat or I have it open already, but I don't have time to read the article or I actually want to review this again. So what I do is I simply click on the three dots, mark as unread. When I leave, this is still highlighted in a way that will remind me to go back and review it. Another cool feature of Translate Immersive Reader, pin is kind of nice. If you're an owner of the site, you can pin the message. But more actions here actually has this a couple of options. I added the app as a connector poly, so I can create a poll out of that message. Same thing if you use Microsoft Forms, you can create a poll out of it. If you use Planner, Microsoft Planner or To Do, you can create your own task. Um, where to go? The last one. This is not Jira. What's it called? The Microsoft boards. I think I forgot what they call it, but that's another option. Seymour is the Jira one. So if I create a poly out of it, it's gonna ask me, is this a question, quiz, trivia, Q&A, a bunch of other options as well. I'm gonna make it a question. I'm gonna say, should we approve this? Yes, no, and then send. So now I sent a poll out of that question. And right here, you can see it replied to it. I can say yes, submit my vote, and it's going to show up. This is my result. Now, you might be wondering, how did you get that poly? I'm not seeing it. Well, you need to add it as an app to that team. To do that will take us to the next step, which is adding connectors and third-party apps. There is an app store here at the bottom where you can click on and search hundreds and hundreds of applications. Each organization sets up their third-party apps differently. Some organizations turn them completely off. Some organization they have an option where you can add it, but it requires admin approval. And there are organizations that have it open for all, where you can add any applications that you want. Poly is probably one of the apps here. So if I search for it, I'll find it, and then I can install it or connect to it first, and then you can add it to any of the teams that you have. You search for the team and set it up. Once you do that, it will be added to that team, and you can start creating polls.
Can I can I provide an example here as well? Because I love this is something we've been diving more into lately. So
Mhm.
we had an issue where we didn't really, I'm a manager. I don't like to track like PTO or who's taking vacation when. It's just a thing that we were doing over email and it wasn't a good workflow. So we actually found an app in Teams because we're all in Teams every day called Vacation. Yep, that's exactly the one. Were you going to cover this? Sorry, I hope I didn't jump the gun. Um, Long story short, this is just, I think I told Kamal about this because we absolutely love this. It tracks all the time requested, leave requested, and who's gone and what days. So this is just an example of how if you have a workflow issue or a process you want to improve, there's probably an app for it.
Absolutely. That's actually, I didn't know about Vacation Tracker. And when I tried it out, I was like, this is insane for small businesses, mid-sized businesses. If you don't want to purchase, Workday or a very expensive tool, it still costs you money. This for past the 14-day trial, but it works well because you can connect it to your Teams account as an admin, and then add all the members that you want to provide, their leave, their PTO. I selected 21 for this example. I requested 8. How do people request it? Simply from the app. You can request leave right there. You can even do it directly from the chat. So you can have a chat with that bot and be like, hi there. I'm just going to chat with it. And it's going to be like, okay, no, you can do help and ask for what you want. Usually, if you select the chat, it tells you all the command. You can type in what you want. This one is very simple. You just request leave. You can customize it as if you want. Request leave. That's what I'm going to say. Let's see what it's going to tell me. Request leave, select an option. You can customize these as well. By default, they're paid time off, sick day, work remotely, which I have infinite number of days. I have 13 days left for paid time off and 5 sick days. I'm feeling kind of under the weather today, so I'm going to say sick day. Click next. And now it's going to ask me which days do you want to take. I want to take today off. Reason, not feeling it. Okay, submit. And then the admins will get it, or whoever their manager is. You can set that up. They get another card similar to this one in the chat where they have to approve it or not. So this one is approved already, I think, because it's sick day maybe. So it depends how yeah, the request has been automatically approved, I think, because it's sick day. But if it was a PTO, then it's going to require an approval. And that's just one app. There are hundreds of apps that do the same thing. Even here, Polly, you can see how I got that in a chat, that same poll that I create. I can delete it, I can close it, close now. Um, there are other bots that I can use. One of my favorites personally is the approvals app. The approval apps allows you to create and request approvals from people, and you can also connect Adobe EchoSign to it. So if I want to create a new approval, I'm going to say basic. I don't need an e-signature. I can even use templates. That's a new feature. This is actually the first time I click on it. That's why it's still loading probably. But new requests, basic. Who do you want to approve? I'm going to say 365, which is, again, I'm asking myself to approve. But sometimes you actually need to approve things for yourself, right? So you can require that, and then explain why. Just approve. Okay. And then you can send it. Now it's missing the title, vendor onboarding, let's say, and send. That will do the same thing. In the chat, I'll get an approval message. You can get a lot more advanced than this by connecting it to Power Automate. If you use Power Platform, I mean, you can connect approval requests from email. So you get an email from a specific vendor or company. You want to approve that request. You can say every time I get this type of email from someone, then send an approval to XYZ or send an approval to the manager. All of that can be done through Power Automate and connected through this approval apps in Teams. Once you're ready to approve, you select the item and approve or reject, of course, or you can even cancel the request if you're the one sending. Now it's approved. You can add even more automation in the back end to send out approval letter to whoever requested the approval. Another thing you can connect, you can create your own app actually. So on top of everything we have here, there's something called, I think, App Studio. You can create and develop your own apps from here. You can utilize a lot of the Microsoft technologies that you have. This is one of the things that improved significantly since day one. I remember they've had this, I think, within the first 6 months to a year of launching Microsoft Teams. And I tried to use it at the time, and I'm like, nope, I'm not going to even try. This is so complex. But now they improved it where they literally take you step by step to create it, create the UI of it, the card editor. So, one of the main benefits of this, if you want to build an internal app for your team that maybe shows you, let's say, your intranet site, it would answer questions. You can have a bot in there where you can chat with your app that you built. They can ask a question. How can I request time off? You say, well, make sure that you use the vacation tracker app. Here's how you can get to it. They might ask, how do I get to HR or billing, or how do I request approval? All of that you can create it, and it all uses an app called Power Virtual Agent. This one. So I know we went kind of quickly there into the third-party apps. Anything specific you guys would like to see, or you want me to talk about when it comes to third-party apps, or should I show you more of one of the cool things here? I mean, I'm not looking at the chat to see if anyone's sending anything, but one of the, let me look at the chat. Is there any messages?
I'll let you know if we get anything.
Okay,
Nothing
great.
came through. Thanks, so yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things you'll notice once you start adding apps to your team, when you start a new conversation here at the bottom, besides, the attachment, the emojis, GIFs, you will start seeing those apps if they have connector in the chat. So Polly actually has an option here to quickly create a poll, question, quiz in the chat. The approval is right there. You can send an approval to the whole team, and then you can select this one, require responses from all recipients. So let me see if you type in every individual, require a response from all of them, and then they can approve. If you click on the three dots again, what happens when you click on three dots? You see the things you didn't know existed. So there's so many other options. One of the cool things is like I use from time to time is the weather. If I want to send the weather for my location, or we're talking about where you are because we're all working remotely from different places, then you can select your location. I'm in Ohio. I can send it. YouTube, Places, Power BI, Forms, Jira, News. And if none of those are the things you're looking for, you can click on more apps, takes you here. It says, here's what you can actually use as well. One of the other things I use is Zoom, because I do use Zoom as well. And I can start a meeting or send a meeting invite once you connect your Zoom. I've also used Lucid Chart, pretty decent. It can be improved, but it's also good to, if you have a chart you want to display, you can use Lucid Chart right there. Trying to think if there are any other third-party apps here that I can show you. There's the WhoBot, another cool one. WhoBot, I think. Or maybe they integrated it, but that allows you to search people in your organization. The Praise one allows you to praise someone on your team. And then Insight. I want to talk about Insight next because this one shows you some statistics. It's part of the Microsoft Viva, which is a new feature within Microsoft 365. It helps you organize your time, block some time off, It also asks you questions on how you're doing today, how are you feeling. So now I'm feeling great, right? Tomorrow may not feel as good. So it gives you a chart of how you've been feeling the past few weeks, and eventually it will, using machine learning, it will understand that you're usually unhappy when you have 5+ meetings per day, and you're usually happy when you have less meetings, or the other way around, right? So it starts analyzing your data and takes it to the next level and shows you why you're feeling the way you are, or how you can improve your daily work, or anything you're working on, want to focus on. It helps you with it. Parts of that feature comes at an additional cost, so I don't want to go too much in details, because it does cost, I think, $5 per user per month if you want to get the full-blown Viva suite. But it gives you more than just insights. There's Viva education, there's Viva analytics, there's Viva topics. So there's so many parts to it that you can take advantage of. And there's a part where you can allow managers to see how their team, not, how much time are they spending in meetings. Is it more than 50%? That may be a lot. You can set targets for them. So there's a lot of cool features. Protected time is where you can book a couple of hours a day to focus, just pretty much not do any, well, do things, just not meetings or emails or chat. This kind of forces you to focus on your actual work. If I click on book time, 1 to 3 p.m. will be blocked for me. All right, so we covered a lot of the features in here. Okay. All right. So now, once you start adding those third-party apps, you'll notice if you go back to Teams, that disappeared. You can organize the left-hand side of your Teams. Simply go to the app that you would like to always see. If it's Vacation Tracker, right-click and pin. So that's the first way of making sure it's on the left-hand side. However, if you minimize your team, it's going to disappear. So it depends on the size of your monitor. This could be small, could show up or not. So you can actually drag and move it up or down. And this allows you to put it up there. If you have an intranet site that you would like to always be visible, you can move it up or down. I personally don't have a phone line with Teams, so I don't use calls. So I usually right click, unpin, don't want to see it, don't want to waste my time looking at it. Same thing, stream. I'm going to unpin and I'm going to add the approval app. Pretty simple and quick to organize your apps on the left hand side, reorder them. The same thing works in Teams. Teams sites, you can first remove teams completely by hiding them. That will put them in the hidden teams. You can also pin a channel only, not the team. You can favorite the team, but to pin, you can only pin a channel. So if I pin this one, it's going to be under pinned. I'm going to pin announcements as well. Now both of them will show up on top. Same thing if you have teams on your phone, those channels will show up on top. Pretty cool. I actually do that all the time in my work team account. This is more of a demo one. Um, I have a bunch of channels pinned because I'm a member of 30+ team sites. If I'm going to go through all of them, that's so annoying. I pin the ones that I really need. You can also reorder the team sites same way, press and hold and then drag up or down, and then you can reorder your teams. I really wish there's a button to sort. There might be somewhere, no, but I wish there's a button to like sort alphabetically or something like that, but that doesn't exist. I mean, since I clicked on this, this is where you can filter by team, search for teams. If you no longer want something, you simply unpin it. All right, so now we talked about pin, reorder. Last feature I want to talk about before give it to everyone, if you guys have questions, give you 10 minutes, is every channel has the ability to send emails to it. So you can get the email address of that channel, resources, you copy that, and you can add it actually as a contact. You add it as a contact in your address book, and then you can email it. The message will show up in here. So you can email an attachment, any information directly to any of the channels that you have by getting the email address to it. All right. That kind of covers most of the features that we wanted to discuss. Taher, is there anything that I missed you'd like me to cover, and are there any questions?
Well, I can't think of anything. I think you covered all of the advanced features that I really wanted to cover. I do have to say I'm very impressed with your presentation. I think you just did a fantastic job, and I've picked out like 8 different specific tech tips. So everyone on the call and anyone that's not on the call, obviously, we are going to be sending out a recording of this in its entirety. But Data Magic and Alltek Services also has a Tuesday Tech Tip email series we send out. It's also on our YouTube. So we're going to be adding these to those series. So if you're not subscribed to those, I recommend subscribing to them, at least our YouTube, just so you can get those. So Data Magic has all their tech tips on their YouTube, and Alltek has all of ours on our YouTube. So Kamal, we're probably going to turn this into 6 or 8 wonderful ones. Like one I saw was how to tag in Microsoft Teams. That was great. Like if you want to tag like 4 people in a specific thing, that's great. Power Automate. I'm thinking maybe we do a separate training on that. I do want to open up to questions, and then I actually have a poll for some of the people here on kind of the next training and what they would like to see. So let's get into some of these questions real quick. First one from Ricardo. Ricardo is one of our clients. Hi, Ricardo. Are you guys using the team calendar app to set up appointments for team members and share calendars for departments?
Okay. So I'll show that really quick. I think both, if you use Outlook calendar as well, it's pretty much the same. They do connect, so they sync between back and forth between the Teams calendar as well as the Outlook calendar. So depends on your preference. I would say you can use either one of the two. Uh, I personally still use the Outlook calendar more. I do look at this one. What it does is here you can see the focus time that was scheduled, but you have a few things that are you can't find in the Outlook calendar are the Meet Now and webinar live events. So they don't exist in the Outlook. Most of the things we do in Outlook calendar are schedule a meeting, you select Teams meeting, and you're good, right? But this is as simple as scheduling a meeting. From here, you can do things like Meet Now. Meet Now allows you to kick off a meeting really quick in your meeting room, just like in Zoom or if you used Skype before. We used to have a default meeting room. That's the same way. You can create a meeting and share the link with others as well as a code. I think now there's a new feature to add a code. I don't see it here. I don't know why, but that is a benefit is that you can do a Meet Now webinars. They're a two-way kind of presentation where you can allow people to actually unmute themselves, but it's more set up like an event or a webinar. It's live though. Live events are not really live. They're 20 seconds delayed. There's no way for any of the audience to be promoted to a presenter. Only the pre-selected presenters or those with the link can present because it's delayed. It's just like a live YouTube video. So they're kind of unique and distinct there, but these are some of the other options that you can get from scheduling meetings from the calendar. Once you select it, it will create that same event in your Outlook. It will show up and it syncs back and forth.
That's a great question, or that's a great point. This is actually a Teams webinar. So when you notice when you joined, everyone's mic and video are off. Well, I've now went in there and allowed it because we're in the Q&A section. So that's a great point. And then Ricardo, just to answer your question from a personal perspective, I only work at Outlook pretty much because I know it's going to show up on Teams. And in Outlook, when you schedule an invite, like Kamal mentioned, there's actually a Teams, convert it to Teams meeting. So it'll pop that link into the calendar invite. And I always give Chelsea on the call props for teaching me that one. So thanks, Chelsea.
You're welcome.
Moving on here, we got a question from Lynn. Oh, sorry, Kamal, were you done answering that question?
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Ricardo, did that help? Maybe. We'll move on. If not, we'll come back to it. Lynn's saying we are looking for an app that we can track after hours calls answered report by that are taken in the call center. They have a call center. Currently, staff are using Excel spreadsheets, reporting date, time, case, phone number, etc. We are thinking about making this document accessible for the team to report. But if there's an app,
Yeah,
that'd be recommended or preferred. Is there any that come to mind, Kamal?
So if you're tracking individual calls, so every time I pick up a phone call and answer it and information, um, I mean, the only advanced way I think besides Excel, you can put that Excel in Teams. This way it's live and everybody can access it at the same time. So you're doing co-authoring that way. Um, so you can do that if you want and pin that in the file section. You can pin that Excel sheet so everybody can modify it. The other thing I can think of is using Microsoft Forms. When you use Microsoft Forms and build some automations in the back end, you can create it in a way where you ask questions. Every time they have a conversation, they can type in the name of the person they worked with, the time, they can set it, how long it took, and submit. Once they submit it, we can create automation in the back end to save it in the right location or notify the right people. You can do so much from there. But you can start by creating call or after hour call tracker. So that is one option. If you want to go a lot more advanced and probably the best but less economical way is creating a power app. Power app, you can track time by literally pressing a button. And then once you're done with the call, you press another button and clocks you kind of out. So, but that requires some development. I can help with it, but again, that's less economical because you need to develop the application. This is more simple because you can track, questions. Who did you talk to? You can add a text in here. You can even add date. With the Power Apps, when you connect to it, and again, it's not showing up here. Not sure why, but you can connect your app, or you can use it in the web, where they can clock in, clock out every time they have a call, and it automatically records everything.
And yeah, that was a great answer. Thank you. And Lynn, there are a lot of other apps. I'm sure it's impossible for Kamal or Alltek or Data Magic to know them all, but it might be worth looking to see if there's something more specific to that workflow. But these are some good recommendations here too. So thank you, Kamal.
There's also the Shifts app, which is a built-in Microsoft Teams app. Shifts app right there allows you to create a schedule, but I'm not sure how it might work after hours. If you want to clock in and clock out, um, it might not work that way, but you can assign shifts to people. It's pretty cool if you have those call center folks. You can give them shifts. They can pick up shifts. If you have an open shift here, they can pick it up. It's free because it's actually a Microsoft technology, so it's not like a third party app. It's pretty nice. I've seen frontline workers use it. I've seen restaurants and minimum paid job kind of work use it, and I've seen executives like CEOs of Fortune 20 companies use shifts to like select where they're going to work and what time and how. So it's pretty powerful. We can have a completely different separate session on this one, but it has a lot of cool features.
Yeah, and last year when we did the original Teams webinar, Teams webinar, I said, Teams is one of those things that can be as little as you want it to be. It can be chat, or it can be as much as you want it to be. You can do everything within it pretty much. Yes. And this is just a great example of that. All right, moving on here. Peter asks, setting to allow third-party apps.
Yes, so in the admin center, and I'm not sharing the right screen for it, but you need to first allow third-party apps for everyone in the organization. And once you do that from the Teams admin center, you can create policies. So you can create the default policy that allows third-party app, but if you want to prevent people from using them, what you can do is create a separate policy. They can still see the apps. You can't remove them, but when they click on it, it's going to require consent from the admins. That's more admin kind of features that we can talk about, but I'm happy to answer those questions if you want to do an admin specific session. I'm Teams admin certified, so I can show you all of the settings, how they work, how to set up policies, whether it's from Teams or from Azure. You can do it from both sides.
That's actually a wonderful idea. We do have some IT directors on the call that may be interested in admin only Teams training, and we'll just So I'm going to talk to you about that as well. And I'll talk to our clients. Data Match will talk to their clients and see if there's enough interest for us to schedule that as well.
Yep.
Moving on here, I know we only have a couple more minutes and just a couple questions here. Oh, it does look like Lynn and Chelsea are using the Shift app for call centers. That's pretty cool that you mentioned that, and that's actually one that they use. Debbie's just providing a compliment. She said this was a great presentation. Thank you, Debbie. You're awesome.
Thanks. Debbie.
Chelsea has a question here. How do you host a meeting in Teams and allow only the one person talking to be on the big screen and focus on that one person? Our meetings end up being 15 little pics of everyone.
Yeah, so actually this is a pretty simple feature. You should be able to click on the three dots next to someone's name. Again, three dots help you there. You click on the three dots, there's something called Spotlight. And I think now you can spotlight up to two people at a time. So if two people are having a conversation, you can spotlight both of them, and only the meeting organizer can do that. If you pin, keep in mind, you might see pin. Pin will only pin it on your side. So if I now go ahead and pin Taher, it's only gonna, now I'm only seeing you on my side, not everybody, like just for my side, right? But if you want to spotlight someone, there should be an option to spotlight in the three dots, and only the meeting organizer can do it.
Awesome. All right, sounds like Chelsea's going to test that out, and I'm going to turn that into a tech tip as well. So this has been a content-rich meeting so far. It looks like we don't have any other questions. So I just want to say, I hope you all got value out of this. Again, we're going to send the recording out. Kamal, I think you did a fantastic job. I'm going to be booking you for basically the remaining Microsoft 365 trainings. So we look forward to seeing more of Kamal. We appreciate your time. Shane, did you have anything before we wrap up?
No, we appreciate you guys attending, and any input that you can have on these meetings, or any suggestions on future meetings. That'd be great to hear from you guys.
Yes, 100%. A couple ideas. I was thinking as we were going through it is maybe a separate training just on OneDrive, because it's such a robust tool. It seems like every time it grows just as fast as Teams sometimes. So if y'all are interested in that as well, please let us know. And we'll also be asking about what you're interested in. So thank you all so much for your time today, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks everyone.
Have
Thanks,
a good one.
Kamal. Thanks, Shane.